Hey, Ted, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Hey, so yeah, I'm Ted Harrison. I am the CEO and founder of Neuemotion. We're a B2B full service agency, really helping a lot of enterprise brands hopefully up level their creative in a B2B space that makes up so much of the world's and countries' GDP, but often lacks like the cultural impact that you would think would be associated with that.
Yeah. How did you start an agency? Was this by accident or what happened?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm sure this is the case for everybody, but so prior to starting Neuemotion, which was 2.5 years ago in October of 2023, I had been at Twitter and then at X. So I was at X for a year post the acquisition when Elon came in. I was serving there as the head of advertiser production. So my role was like really aligned with you immediately think, oh, we must be making ads for Twitter, but I was actually helping the advertisers on the platform create better content so that they would inevitably spend more money on the platform. And so my team and I would create thousands of assets every year across the globe for all these different brands, from Unilever to Warner Brothers. So we would help with like trailer editing and how that could come to life better on the platform and that kind of thing. So it's been 7 years total there, and then a year after the acquisition, lots of covered greatly in the news. It was definitely an interesting time. Actually, a member on our team currently who I brought with me afterwards, her name's Robin, and I'm going to call her out here. She is the one who killed the bird. The Twitter bird. She didn't actually. She just is the one who had to make the X logo out of a user submitted entry that you now see everywhere. So I like to joke with her that she is the real one who put the death knell in the bird.
That's funny.
So yeah. So I left that and I left that in October or in September, and then launched the agency in October. I've been kind of doing a lot of like cursory look at like what it would be like to start my own thing. I think honestly, if I'm just being candid, watching the turmoil and like all the shareholder battles and everything that was going on in that time, I wanted to get to a place where I was in control of decisions and wasn't at like the random requests or whims of whether it be billionaires or even just like the shareholder majority or whatever that may be. Wanted to be responsible for my own decisions, and I think that was a big impetus for me wanting to start the agency.
Did you have any interactions with Mr. Musk?
Yeah, I rarely is never like a one-on-one conversation with Elon. I did have plenty of interactions with the CEO that he brought in, Linda Yaccarino, who had come from NBC Universal. But yeah, by proxy in a lot of ways, dealt with him. We had a really fun moment where early in the days of right after the acquisition, he was all about like getting something new, or they wanted to constantly make changes. And so one of the things he was suggesting was to cut the ad sizes in half, because like users were complaining about the size of ads in the feed. And of course, as the person who was really well in tune with how all the ad products worked and showed up, I was like, this is a terrible idea. So my team and I had to kind of work over, and I shouldn't we worked overnight to like say, don't do this, but if you do it this way. Kind of like, we weren't product designers, but we were trying to be like, this is probably the only way you could get this to work. Unfortunately, he decided not to do that. I do believe that one advertiser, they went to get feedback from some customers, and someone said, do we get to pay half? And I think that was the ultimate, less my work and more that quote from a customer that made them realize maybe not the right move.
So you were the person years ago I could have gone about a trademark infringement from Twitter using agency playbook term, because I remember so we own the trademark agency playbook. And so Twitter put out, here's the agency playbook for Twitter. And I was like, this going to get confusing. And I can never reach anybody there. I was like, can you at least change it? Like I own the trademark, and I think you guys were like, "Fuck y'all!" Like, I own Twitter.
I probably would have known people that you would have been trying to get in contact with for sure, but I that wouldn't be me directly.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding with you. Like, I remember when I was like, for years and years, I was like, man, I get this trademark, and every time I type in agency playbook, the damn Twitter comes up. And I was like, I understand that, but I was like, it was kind of funny. So when you were telling me, kind of like as you were telling your origin story, I was like, you were the guy.
Yeah. There are a few people out there where you could put, oh, you're that guy, and but it's not for you, Jason, and it's not me in this instance.
That's right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Just point somewhere else, Ted.
Yes.
I get it. It sounds like, especially over the 2.5 years, I mean, you guys have grown really, really fast.
Yep.
How has the agency evolved, or how has your role evolved over the couple of years?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's fairly, even though our origin story is a bit unique. I mean, I think I even have said to you before that we, in a way, with Elon, like letting go of 50% of the company initially. And so then me being there a year, by the time I was left and started my agency, a good portion of my network had already found a home elsewhere. So I had a lot of people that I could go to be like, hey, you know me for doing video work and advertising work just on Twitter. But I think now that this affords opportunity to do a lot more, it gave me a direct access to a lot of people at a bunch of big companies. And for me, initially, that, the first pitch I had, I hadn't even fully formed the company yet. I'm talking to a huge customer, Salesforce. Still trying to get paperwork done and get.
Who's that? What?
Have you heard of them before? Okay. Yeah. And I was trying to get things together and, doing the typical early founder things of being there's, you could talk to our finance team, which is just an email that routes back to me, and doing all of those things. So, things that make it feel bigger than it really is. And the fortunate side of that too is I also, because there were a lot of people that were distributed that I knew were really solid workers, a lot of the layoffs that happened there and really across most tech companies aren't always targeted at low performers. It's just happenstance or what the role is, especially in the situation with Elon. So there's a lot of good people that I knew I could go to immediately to solve whatever the customer's need might be, to be able to help contract for the work and that kind of stuff. And so, my role was initially, it was wearing every hat, as every kind of agency founder does. Everything from comms, biz dev, trying to figure out what does hiring end up looking like, and when can we finances, all of it. To today, where I actually feel like I'm in that kind of leap in the moment, from going from operator and doer and all the things to actually what is our CEO supposed to be doing. And that's kind of the transition that I'm in now that we're at 23 full-time, soon to be 30.
Yeah. How have you transferred your knowledge that you've built up over the years at Twitter and kind of letting it kind of go to the rest of the team? Because what I see a lot of times with agencies that have expertise in an area, and then you go out and you use that network, they want you, not the agency. They want you. And you how have you been successful at transferring that knowledge and transferring, that role to your team?
Yep. So one thing, I mentioned that I had kind of already been looking out at what I could be doing post when I left Twitter. And so in that time period, I actually wrote a book called Entrepreneurial Creativity. And it was really focused on, one of the big reasons I wrote it was because I felt like I had found success being a creative, if that makes sense, both monetarily and in the business world and all those kinds of things. And it's something that's just not taught. And whenever you I went to film school, and so you don't learn any of the business mechanics of things when you're at that. I learned the craft well, but I didn't learn how to actually make money. Basically a stat had stood out to me that it's close to 20% of people with a creative degree by the time they're 25 aren't using it at all. They're in a different field. Or actually only 20% are actually still using it. So 80% of people have fallen off. And so I wrote this book out of a bit of how do I think about this? How do I talk to a creative who can then understand the business context? And I wrote it a large part for myself. And the reason I'm using this as the example is I honestly think the biggest benefit I've had since the start of the company is how much I first of all, like to write, but also like having it written down has been massively beneficial, because then it's like a ton of documentation and context. Everyone who starts at the company reads the book. I built a course so that people can understand how like we build video content from the ground up. It takes about an hour to go through. It's also been immensely helpful in getting contractors stood up in a short amount of time whenever we've had overflow. And so having those things documented and like out there has made a huge impact on how I can like scale.
Creative people document stuff. Come on, dude. Like, be honest.
Hey, I've been a video guy since I was like 12, which is not a thing anymore. And everyone's a video person when they're like 6 years old at this point. But when I was 12, that was a bit unusual. And so I definitely have had to like learn that skill. But yeah, documentation has been a huge part of, I think, of our success, and just that I don't think that there's like question marks around like how something might be handled with the amount of documentation and my thinking that's out there.
I'm just messing with you. I
know. I got to defend it a little bit though, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, like, because creative people, you ask them a document of like in crayons, like markers, like, or let me just do a Loom video. That's how I document stuff. Like if I have to write an SOP, I am going to shoot myself. But
yes,
it's important for you to document the framework, and I that's what you've done with the course and the book, and then probably allow other people to kind of cipher that and be like, oh, all right, this is the SOP that we'll follow for that. Like this is the skill, which is smart. I like it.
Yeah. And you have to ultimately be comfortable with everyone having their own twist on it. Like if you get too caught up in trying to like get everyone to be narrowly focused, you just have a bunch of people thinking the exact same. And that's not what our customers ultimately want either.
So but were you always that way, or did you have to learn that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things. My parents are authors and have written books before, and so like I kind of grew up around that, and I always had this like aspiration. Of course, the aspiration when I went to film school and like parents writing, it's like, oh, I'm going to become a novelist or a screenwriter and do all those things. And then I learned that every famous filmmaker I know either came for money or got a huge check handed to them at some point. And it's like most of the jobs in the film industry are like, cool, shift this light this direction, which by the way, love the people who do that because you need that on the set. But I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to have as much creative impact. And so here I am in advertising. But I think that was instilled kind of early through seeing that. And then also I do think that building a discipline of it, which was not easy because it's not, even though the book's not like terribly long, it's much shorter than a typically business book. Getting anything written in final takes a discipline that like I didn't have before I like forced myself to get in the weeds to do it.
Yeah. The thing, I don't think I've told anybody, especially not on the podcast. After I graduated college, a buddy and I wrote a movie script, and it was,
where's my copy?
I know. Well, I'll tell you about that. It was called I'll Never Drink Again. And then we put it on the side for many, many years and didn't really kind of approach it. And then The Hangover came out. And we're like, oh my God, that was pretty much what we wrote.
Yeah.
So I was like, they already beat us to it. Let's not do it. So
hey, you could have had like a Bug's Life and an Ant situation if you just gotten it, and they could have had like two very similar movies coming out in the same year.
I knew I needed to just keep focusing on the agency.
Yeah.
Then, and I was like, it was kind of nice. Like it was fun writing, a movie script and brainstorming and just being creative. But like I could be way more creative running the agency and doing the stuff that we were doing. That's what got our kicks on. But yeah, when you mentioned going to film school and writing movie scripts, I was like, I haven't thought about that in a long time. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we dug that out of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm going to go cry later because they came out with like 3 of them or something, or 4.
Yeah. Those royalties could be yours. Sorry, Jason.
Yes. Yeah. So, oh well. But how do you guys use AI in your company?
Yeah. So we use it quite a bit. I mean, I think I'm probably the heaviest user of it when it comes to just like having some systems and things set up, so that I can quickly get information I need or feel like I have an accurate look into the future. It really helps with forecasting a ton. But I would say there's a few different things. We have a few customers where we're building a couple of agents that help them like quickly price things so that they're not always acting or coming to us. So they can at least get like a general sense of like quotes and what things are. And that's for some businesses where we have this like recurring structure with them on like they have high volume of potential requests for themselves. And so that's just an easier filter. But, and then the typical thing for any video production right now is it's useful, particularly in like cleaning up audio, cleaning up video. We're not using anything, generative in the content that we make. Our customers are enterprise level customers, and the expectation versus reality of the AI generative stuff is just not there yet. Not saying it can't be, but I also think it's a big differentiator for these people who've built like really powerful brands in the marketplace and wanting to maintain that integrity. So we're not using it there, but definitely a ton in terms of like, you even mentioned like how we scale knowledge. Like there's like we joke about, there's a TED GPT that we've built so that you can ask things. It loves to hallucinate still. So always trying to tinker.
You guys gone to Claude yet?
Yes, we actually have. So the full company is on Claude. I haven't ported over TED GPT, which is part of the reason that it needs to, it still hallucinates. But we have a number of things that we use company wide on Claude and Anthropic, and I just found it immensely beneficial for better understanding. The biggest thing I keep saying I really hound on with our team is to make sure that we're not starting there, that you're like poking and prodding at what's happening and not getting too caught up in what you think it's telling you is the right thing. And nothing that we publish or talk about like should feel like this just came straight out of it. So a lot of that built in.
And the rocket emoji.
Yeah, and it's not this, it's that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not seeing the bigger companies utilizing AI more in order to potentially replace some of the things you're doing?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that you look at the landscape, sure, there are definitely things that I think people are relying on to help replace potentially like a role or two that may have existed, a few years ago, or even just as soon as last year or the year before. That said, I also can tell you that we've been brought in on multiple occasions to fix what AI has broken with our customers. I think it's a weird spot to be in, Jason. I'm sure that you feel this tension all the time where I'm very pro the technology, but I'm also like in adopting it, playing with it, experimenting with it, vibe coding myself and getting lost in that world for a bit, which so many people do. But at the same time, recognizing that like where our value is in the actual expertise. And as cliche as it's almost becoming, it is that level of taste and understanding of like what will actually play to audiences that I just don't think it is either there yet, or will really, particularly with the way that LLMs are structured, maybe there's a limiting factor. Like there may be a point where it's like, can we max out what an LLM can provide that feels human? To directly answer your question, I think that there's some things that I think I've seen be useful for some of these companies, but particularly when it comes to like building out like a brand voice agent or really understanding how to like write copy in the tone of a brand. But it still every single time always requires a human touch, and we're often kind of interfacing with that directly ourselves too.
Yeah. The technology is amazing. I've been going down that rabbit hole for a while and just seeing what it's able to do. I mean, it does my video editing now.
Yeah.
It zooms in on the important parts and zooms out, cuts out the stuff. Like I still have to approve different things and be like, hey, you forgot this, just like a human. But going back to your comment about like, humans have taste.
Yeah.
How did we learn taste?
Over time. And I also, what I thought was interesting is, I'm probably going to butcher the exact data point on this, but I want to say that what I've the number is like once a child has hit 2 years old, they've then had the same amount of inputs that are the theoretical limit of what like the AI is currently constructed can have. Um, in terms of the inputs and like just the things that we're absorbing. When you think about the human brain, like even when you're taking a step, the number of things it's calculating at any given moment. And so not to make everything about like a scientific viewpoint on it, but I think ultimately there's a lot of that. We just so much experience in what it's like to it's funny, we poked fun at this in a Webflow campaign. One of our customers, we did a campaign with poking fun at AI while also like lauding like what it can do at the same time, which I thought was a really cool take on it, where the AI is like dealing with a guy who's asking about what's the best shoe to get. And for his wide feet, and the AI is like asking him like, what's it like having feet? You know, he like goes on this monologue about like, because they just can't experience that the same way that a human
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting. And I love to hear how people's different thoughts on it, right? Like, my thought on it is it's an amazing tool. And if you look at every kind of evolution throughout mankind, whether it be the Stone Age, Bronze Age, whatever age that we're in, the AI age, the humans that use the better technology always beats the humans that use the worst technology.
Yeah.
And I think it's working alongside. And there's a lot of things that once you train it the right way, and that I think that's the thing, right? Because the thing that makes we all of us unique, every agency unique, is all the data that you have, because that's
Yeah.
unique. We all have access to the same tools, and we all start off the same point, but we have those different data points that we can kind of plug in, and the ones that know how to do that can be the most efficient. And the things that might have taken you 40 hours can take you 15 minutes. And how do we get more efficient? And I'm glad too, the big companies really are not replacing, because I hear the stories about the bigger agencies having more issues than the smaller ones. Well, because they probably don't hire, they hire too many people, and there's too many like political crap within the organization. But a lot of the bigger, like the sales forces, they're getting rid of those people, or they're not bringing in the programmers because they're all these agents and that kind of stuff. So I'm glad it's not there yet.
Yeah. And I think too, I actually think that IKEA, their recent pivot, I don't know if you've seen that, where they took a ton of their customer service reps who were historically just customer service reps. They basically, with a few agents, were able to drastically reduce the amount of time and manpower that would require. And instead of going to those people and saying, see ya, they retrained them and developed a new line of business and helped it, like making them like all be able to help with interior design. And I think that, whenever you see that, like that, especially as an agency owner, that's what I'm on the lookout for, is like, if there is a moment where it's like, oh, this is replaced, well, then what's next? Because you go back to like the digital transformation, when everyone's moving to the internet, there were so many things that transitioned over, and it's just like, what's the reskill instead of this is just done. Like instead of putting your hands up, it's the lean in.
There's always an evolution, right?
Yeah.
Like I believe that ad managers won't be around, but there'll be AI managers.
Yeah.
Right. And like whatever your role is, like, and I tell everyone in my company, we have to evolve, even myself. Like you can go to ChatGPT, even like, which I look at them as they had the lead, but now they're kind of in last place right now. And you could go, what would Jason say about running your agency? Blah, blah, blah. It's pretty spot on, right? Like I have to evolve, right? And everybody has to do it. And, I just like to I want people to just keep thinking like, what can we do? Like, how can we utilize this amazing gift that we have right now? How do we get more efficient? How do we get better? How do we do better work? How do we deliver it faster, deliver better results, communicate with our clients better so we have more time? Because at the end of the day, I don't know about you, I didn't work really hard to just work hard all the time. Like I worked
Yeah.
hard in the very beginning of my life so I can enjoy now.
Yeah. 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 No, and I also think there's something too, I've talked about this a lot in the context of social media, where it was really like born in like 2001, 2002 with like Friendster. And if you look at the progression of like
Friendster. Oh my God.
the user behavior over the course of the years, you can actually parallel that with like a human development. It's like in the beginning, everything's new and fun and exciting. And then you kind of get to be a child and like you're like making like dumb fart jokes and whatever else. That's why you get like E-Bombs World, and then it's going viral on Facebook because you're like 6 to 8 years old in that window when Facebook comes around. And then you look at your angsty teen years, which is when Instagram starts, or preteen, starting to show off yourself. You can really like parallel path that, like the progression, even just like the spirit of culture in terms of just being like, when we got to the college years, being more like, well, wait, like social justice became a huge thing in that window of time. And then a little bit of like reckoning with like the real world has like happened since. And so it's just like an interesting like parallel. And I have to imagine that something similar for businesses in this context will happen with AI, in the sense that like right now it's like all new and fun and exciting. We'll probably have some dumb jokes and dumb things that are built. I mean, there's a company that sprung up that sells drugs to AI. I don't know if you've seen this, that you can like you can buy like ayahuasca and give it to your AI, and it will like then act as if it's on the drug that you've given it. But you like pay to give it's such a bizarre, and like that's the kind of thing that happens in like early days of something like this. And then we'll probably look out in 4 or 5 years and understand like, oh, this is how companies and organizations and agencies specifically have been restructured to be built around this, rather than like playing with it.
Yeah, I just feel that the marketing industry and tech industry are the most disturbed by AI, or the most disrupted industry out there right now. And it's fascinating to kind of watch it and see it and help people to kind of navigate it. Especially, I started in 99 when, the internet boom was happening. And then I remember the .bomb and all these different things. And it's so fun to kind of navigate these landmines that are in front of us. But, it's just like you said, when the internet came, different types of, we all had to evolve. And it's the same thing with this. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, I like what you said there too about it being like fun. I think it's so easy to be like scared of it, but it's like, if you can approach it with like, this is an opportunity, how can I figure this out? You're in a much better spot just mentally to be able to navigate.
All agency founders are creative and innovative, and we're curious, right? That's all you need you go to this amazing technology and you're curious and creative and innovative, you can create anything you want.
Yeah.
All you have to do is talk to it. You don't have to hire a programmer in a closet anymore that he's like, no, right? Like, I had a bunch of developers working for me. That was always fun. It's exciting times. Well, this has all been a lot of fun, Ted. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the audience?
I think, what's one thing that you wish someone, I mean, I'm sure you've probably talked about this before, but that someone would have told you before you started an agency? Like the one that you get a lot of advice. I got plenty of it, but I wish someone would have told me how, I'll just answer it anyway, but how funny this business model is. And like, just like being able to like break through, it's the payment terms, the like playing, like, it's just like constant shifting.
Companies which have the crappiest payment terms in the world. Like,
yes,
that's why we worked with the biggest companies in the world as well. And then I finally got to a point where I was like, you want 180-day net payment? I was like, go fuck yourself. I'm going to go work for the billion-dollar companies no one's ever heard of. So Coca-Cola, go suck it.
Yeah. It's just like it. You will now. I think the thing that I just keep coming back to is I never get over how like ridiculous it is. It's such a weird business model.
And the weirdest request, right? Like they want you to put how much money into a pitch that they don't pay for, that they can steal. Like some ad agency I had on the company many years ago, they did this viral video about an ad agency going to like all these, and like they're treating the other businesses like an ad agency. So he'd go to the butcher, he goes, I want to try your steak, and if I don't like it, I don't pay for it. Or he goes to like a trainer. I want you to tell me all the exercises you know that you're going to show me. And if I like it, I'll give you money. If I don't, I can go do it. I'll do it for someone else.
Yeah.
Like, it was brilliant. And that's how those big companies treated. That's why I was like, peace out.
Well, I'm not there yet. I'm still in the thick of it, Jason.
Yeah,
So
you enjoy it. It is fun. But well, the thing I will tell you, I love that you're approaching it as interesting and fun and amazing, because when after you're done with this role, looking back, you'll remember all these funny stories, and you'll be like, "Oh, it was a good time," even though they kicked the shit out of us. So.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, Ted, thanks so much for coming on the show. Everybody listening, make sure you subscribe to listen to all these amazing stories and insights, so you are not felt alone. And if you guys want to be around really amazing people on an ongoing basis that understand what you're going through, make sure you guys go check out our community. It might be right for you. If not, we'll wish you luck. Until next time, have a swank day.